Thank you, Peter. Thank you to Monash and to the Press Club and the Windsor Hotel, and thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for coming along to hear me and to share this lunch in this just stunning building, this heirloom of not just Melbourne but the whole world, which should be kept in this beautiful setting and not transmogrified by the encroachment of modern development as this great city determines its future. And all I can say is it'll be better for the Greens being here that this city does go on into the future, being able to boast that it is the lifestyle capital, or has amongst the best lifestyles of any city on the face of the planet. That's something we aim not only to enhance but to ensure into the future. I'm grateful to all 7 young people in the Labor Party that are outside this morning to welcome me into this function, and I acknowledge my fellow parliamentarians and candidates. Brian Walters got me out of some trouble in those forests in East Gippsland. I went to Goolinggook, woke up in the morning and went across with lyrebirds sounding in my ears, and had a gentleman in blue ask me if I was going to stay there, and said yes, I liked it there, and found myself in a paddy wagon. And Brian was able to explain to the court that in fact the peaceful protesters out there for Victoria's forest heritage were legal and the logging was illegal, and the court found so, and the Canada government at the time had to retrospectively validate the illegal logging. I wasn't so lucky down in the Tarkine. Just before I became a senator, I spent 11 days in the lockup in Launceston, and they took me to Risdon down in Hobart for 3 days. Must have thought I was homesick for the place. And Chopper Reid was incarcerated there at the time, and I remember not feeling... Well, there were other people that I spent my time talking with. Jails have pecking orders. It's very interesting. If you want to, if you're a newcomer, particularly if you happen to be a past or present member of Parliament, it pays to wait and have the last saveloys and the last dip out of the bucket for the sweet milk tea that they bring around at lunchtime. But I had a particular reason for not wanting to consort with Chopper in the prison, because his memoirs were out, and in them it had said that he had been offered a contract on me by a gentleman for $500, and I thought, how undignified. I mean, 9 or 100 or 1,000, but 500 was a bit of a, I thought, a short sell. Nevertheless, it's a great privilege to be in this democratic country, to be in a country where we can peacefully protest, even if the view that we're taking is ahead of the times, and to be in a country with such a fantastic built human as well as natural heritage that we are able to, it's part of the discourse. And it's not like Putin's Russia, where we will all have seen another journalist being smashed down in the street, just as the same as the forests of Russia or Siberia being smashed down for no good thing but quick gain for some of the oligarchs that Putin enhances in the USSR. And by the way, both Labor and Liberal are very keen and are following through contractual arrangements to sell our uranium to Mr. Putin's Russia. That's the same Russia that's given technology to Iran, nuclear technology to Iran, and don't ask any questions. And one of the things we Greens are very good at doing is asking awkward questions about human rights, about people's persecution of people, about the persecution of journalists. And Russia has a particular answer to give to the world about the extraordinary assassination of journalists, which we see continuing to unfold, with not more than a hint that this is simply coming from the top end of the power echelons because they don't like what journalists have to say. And insofar as we're silent about it, and I have put a number of motions before the Senate, which do go to the Russian embassy and do go through to Moscow, deploring the evil that besets people who want to express freely in Russia opinions that are against the so-called elected government of the day. A year ago, a bit over a year ago, I was on the south coast of New South Wales with my colleagues. We were having a little coven before the parliamentary year, but it happened to be the day of the awesome bushfires which overtook this lovely state with such a devastating death toll. And so our meeting gave way to this unfolding news of that catastrophe. And nevertheless, on a global plane, there was the onrush of a global financial meltdown in the air. And the government of the day, the Rudd government, was seeking to ensure the Australian economy against the forecasts of an onrush of a depression similar to that which overtook the world in the 1930s. And the opposition, led by Mr Turnbull, but with Mr Abbott and Mr Hockey and many of the current players, there said no, they were not going to support a stimulus package. And that presented us Greens with a very big challenge, because the stimulus package, amongst other things, was going to support the big banks in this country, who are not famous for their generosity to the community whose taxpayers' money, whose money would be used for this stimulus package. But nevertheless, when it got down to it, we were faced with the fate of hundreds of thousands of jobs and small businesses in Australia. And to cut a long story short, we did the right thing by Australia's economy, by its business sector, and by people employed in the private sector, passing a $43,000 million stimulus package through the Parliament against the opposition of the Liberal and National parties. And we don't know, you never do know, the ups and downs of such a dramatic piece of legislation, excepting that 360,000 jobs have been created in the last year in this country. And a majority of those in Victoria. It's outdone New South Wales 2-1, and that may say something about the incumbent government here as against that in New South Wales, I don't know. But you can guarantee that tens of thousands of those jobs, people here in Victoria, and potentially thousands of businesses would now not exist had the Greens not taken that move, that responsibility on our shoulder in Canberra when the Liberal Party and the National Party refused to do so. And some of the onflow, of course, was that we reduced, in bargaining with the government, we reduced the package, the handout that was going to, you might remember, taxpayers, $950. We talked the Treasurer into reducing that to $900, and the consequence was $300 or $400 million, which we then put into gainful works, including heritage restoration. There was no budget for that in Australia. Peter Garrett had it. It was $50,000. It suddenly became $60 million because of the Greens. And a very big part of that sum has been spent here in Victoria. And of course, that stimulated businesses, and that has employed Victorians and skilled Victorians in a very essential part of not just the economy, but the lifestyle and the protection and refurbishment of heritage in the Garden State. We also put $40 million into bikeways, and many of you will have seen those extended in this city and in rural areas of Victoria and, of course, elsewhere around the country, thanks to the Greens being in the balance of power in the Senate last year. Now we find ourselves in the balance of power, at least sharing it in both houses of Parliament. I can tell you I'm mightily pleased that Adam Vant is our new member for Melbourne, and he tells me he's enjoying the job. such is the enthusiasm of youth, I think. But it's if you're going to get people into Parliament who are going to have extraordinary influence, then for goodness sake, have somebody there who's got the wherewithal. And that's where Adam fits the bill. And that's where the candidates we present to the Victorian electorate in this election, now 16 sleeps away, here in Victoria, also give my heart a great uplift, because they are not just competent people, they're innovative, they're intelligent, they're responsible, and they will bring that innovation and intelligence and responsibility into the floor of government if the voters so choose in Melbourne and into, in greater numbers, the upper house of the Victorian legislature on the 27th of November, if that's the way Victorians vote. And of course they should. There's a big debate about preferences on it at the moment. Let me state that the Greens are not a preference machine. We're not a faction. We're not a ginger group or a lobby organisation. Nor are we in there to keep the bastards honest. We are there to replace them. The best analogy I can give, but it's got some thorns on it, is the rise of the Labor Party 100 or 120 years ago, when social justice wasn't on the agenda of the Whigs and Tories, and it required a new party because the old parties could not get out of their mould to deliver a more appropriate policy reference to communities coming through and out of the industrial revolution. And we're all the better off for that rise of the Labor Party. But now we have two political parties in this country, and the parallels are the same around the world, which are stuck in the 20th century, and they can't get out of it. Petra Kelly, the great German Green, who, by the way, saw the Green bans in Sydney from Jack Mundy and took that